And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to be taking a look at another area control game. We're going to take a look at Triassic Terror from Gryphon Games. Now this is a game, as I said, area control game with dinosaurs. You're going to be trying to position your herds of dinosaurs into the different habitats in order to score the best parts of the habitats, in order to have the biggest herd there and get the most points after the end of the game. So real quick, why don't we take a look at what you get inside of this box and how the game plays. From 2 to 6 players, we'll cover that a little bit more later, but we'll see how the game plays, and then we'll come back here and we'll get my final thoughts on Triassic Terror. So here you can see Triassic Terror set up for a 4-player game. This is a very basic area control game with awesome dinosaur miniatures. Rawr! They're great, and they're fun, and I love them. And they're probably the best part of the game, but this is not a bad game overall, so let's get into it real quick. The game, as I said, is area control, and you're going to be trying to control different habitats within each of these 4 regions, which have 3 areas, which have 3 habitats. You'll see that there's a jungle region here, and a desert, and a mountain, and a swamp, and each of those is divided into 3 larger areas with different habitats in them, and then there are 3 habitats in each of those that are worth victory points, and the bigger the habitat, or the more primary the habitat, the more points it's worth. So the biggest herd in that area will get the most points. Now, each player is going to control their own dinosaur. You'll see that purple here has like a brachiosaur, and you know, it depends on what color you are, you'll have your own dinosaur. But that's somewhat irrelevant. One player will be the start player, and they'll have this awesome T-Rex marker. And that player is going to start the game by taking an action and drawing a card. In the first turn of each round, and the game is divided into several rounds, the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous, the first turn of each round you get to draw a card. And this card is essentially going to depict an environment on it that you can play on any of your turns in order to add guys to this environment. Anywhere you want. And in addition, they're going to take an action. And these actions are lined across the board. There are 6 of them, and you'll see that some of them have these little white dinosaurs on them. These are for the actions that don't get taken each round. They'll accumulate dinosaurs, and when you take those actions, you'll get to place the dinosaurs out onto the board with your other dinosaurs. But let's cover the actions real quick. As I said, you're trying to get area control in these different areas, and you're going to do so by taking these actions, placing your dinosaur out onto one of the actions, removing that, and then waiting for everybody else to place. Once everybody else is placed, you're going to start taking actions, and you're going to take them from the top down. So whoever took the highest up action will go first, and whoever took the lower down actions will go in turn order. So first player is really only important for determining who gets to choose an action first. When you do this, you're going to place this, and once everybody's placed, you'll start taking the actions. And the first action you can see here is hatch. Well, hatching makes sense. You're going to get more dinosaurs. You're going to add 3 dinosaurs to an existing herd on the board. Well, at the beginning of the game, you only have 1 existing herd. So green could add 3 dinosaurs in the form of this little disc to their own herd. And when they do so, they're going to, of course, become the biggest herd, bigger than purple, and they will take over the lead spot in this little area. Now, if they had been down here, green would be getting more points because they'd have the biggest herd in an area worth 8 instead of an area worth 4, but you can move around later. In addition, they get to move the pterodactyl. You'll see in the top left-hand corner, it depicts the pterodactyl. And they get to move that pterodactyl, which is already on the board. And they can move it 1 or 2 areas adjacent. So areas are these little outlined regions. They could move this direction 1, and then they can move this direction 1, 2, or they could move over here. But basically, they're going to be trying to get this somewhere where they can eat other dinosaurs. So maybe they move it 1 space here, and they move it 1 space here. Well, it doesn't do them any good right now. They can't get to any other dinosaurs. But if they could, it would stop in an area, and it would eat up to 2 dinosaurs. So it can eat these 2 dinosaurs from here, and purple would end up with 2 dinosaurs on the board instead of 4 if green managed to fly it all the way over there. The next possible action is T-Rex. You'll see T-Rex here, and there is a T-Rex already on the board. He starts over here in this area, away from everybody else. But if you were to take the T-Rex action, of course you would have your dinosaur here, and you would replace the T-Rex on the board with your T-Rex. So let's just say that the blue player is doing this. So now your T-Rex is on the board. And the T-Rex can move 1 or 2 spaces again. So just like the pterodactyl, he can move 1 or 2 spaces. And when he gets there, he can eat 5 or 3 dinosaurs. If he moved 1 space, he could eat 5 dinosaurs. There are no dinosaurs to eat. 2 spaces, he could eat 3 dinosaurs. So the farther he moves, the less he eats. However, when he gets there, he also counts as 3 dinosaurs for the player that moved him. So if this player moves him 2 spaces, he counts as 3 dinosaurs and will take up the 8 victory point spot in this area, essentially being a placeholder for their dinosaurs and helping them score points. And that is how T-Rex works. We have the new environment card, and the new environment card is going to let you play dinosaurs into a new environment. When you play that card, you can add 3 dinosaurs to any one of the 4 existing environments. So let's say Orange took that action, and they want to play over into the desert. There's nobody in the desert right now. They say, hey, let's get over there. And they can place their 3 guys into any of the 3 areas here, divided up however they like. So they could place 1 here, and 1 here, and 1 here, and now they're the dominant force in all of those 3 areas. Now, as I said, each player will also get a card at the beginning of each round that will have a terrain on it, and this works much like the new environment action. Instead of, you could just play the card and do the same thing. So they could play this mountain one, and they could also add 3 guys over to the mountain area, and maybe they really want to control this mountain area, so they add all 3 of them there into the mountain area to control the 7 habitat of that mountain area. So that's how new environment works. Now, herd growth is kind of like a new environment, except for that you have to add to your existing herds. So let's say it's now Orange's turn again. We've gone around through a full game, and Orange decides to take the herd growth action by placing their guy out there and removing the tableau, and then starting their action once everybody else is placed. When they do this, they can add 3 dinosaurs to an existing environment, and then 2 dinosaurs to another existing herd. So they have 2 or several existing herds on the board. They could add 3 dinosaurs to one of them and 2 to another. So maybe they really want to shore up this one here, and they add 3 dinosaurs to it, which would then, of course, move Blue down and Orange up, putting Orange into a dominant position. They could then add 2 dinosaurs to one of their other herds. So maybe they really want to shore up this one over here, and they add 2 dinosaurs to it, making that a little bit more powerful. And that is how herd growth works. Then we have the 2 that start at the bottom here, and they start at the bottom because they're not the actions that you're most likely to take right away, but here they are, they have bonus dinosaurs on them. Whoever takes the Raptors action can move both of the Raptors that start on the board. And they can move one Raptor 1 space and the other Raptor 1 or 2 spaces. So when they move these, they can move them 1 space, one of them 1 space, so maybe they move it over here. And they move this one 1 or 2 spaces. Maybe they move it up to here. At this point, they can decide to have them eat 2 dinosaurs in that area. So this Raptor could choose to eat these 2 dinosaurs, and they're gone from the game. They'd move over back to the Orange player's supply. In addition, they can have them eat dinosaurs from these. So maybe they decide to eat 1 of greens and 1 of purples. In addition, each of these Raptors can scatter up to 2 dinosaurs, and when they scatter them, they have to scatter them to the same area. So this one would scatter within the desert. Maybe they move it up here. And this one would scatter. Maybe he scatters this purple one down to here, putting him in 2nd place, and he scatters one of the orange ones down, or sorry, one of the green ones down as well, moving green into that position. Because if purple was there first, he gets the better position of the 2. So you'll see you move the Raptor, they can eat a bunch of dinosaurs, but they can also redistribute dinosaurs. You can use them to redistribute your own, or to redistribute other players in order to change the dynamics of who's scoring the most points in a specific area. The final action on the board is herd migration, and this is how you're going to move your dinosaurs from one habitat to another, or from one area to another. So let's say Orange had taken the habitat migration, or the herd migration action. They would, of course, get their dinosaur, and they would place a dinosaur out on one of their herds on the board. But in addition to that, they're going to be able to move up to 2 of their herds across areas. Now, if they decide to move across a habitat from one, for example, the swamp, to the forest, they're going to move those dinosaurs across. But when they do so, they're going to lose a dinosaur to environmental shock. So if they moved 3, they would lose 1, and only 2 would end up in the region they moved to. And they would go into the first position because, of course, no one else is there right now. However, when they move, they also encourage some of the other dinosaurs from the region to move with them. And each other player that has dinosaurs there is going to lose 1 dinosaur to that migration. So if they decided to move 3, Blue would also have 1 contribute to that, and it would become an orange dinosaur. So Blue's would be returned to them, and Orange would gain an extra dinosaur because Blue's dinosaur decided to move with their herd. So they'd move 3, they would lose 1, and they would gain 1 from Blue, ending up with 3 in the new area. You're going to play like this with each player placing their dinosaur and then taking the appropriate actions, using the cards when they can, and manipulating the board pieces of the Raptors and the T-Rexes in order to try and gain control of these different areas. And once you go through a certain number of turns in each period, there's 3 in the Triassic, 3 in the Jurassic, and then 2 in the Cretaceous for a 4-player game, but that can change with more or less players. You're going to go until the end of the 3rd turn, and after that you're going to have a scoring round. In these scoring rounds, you're going to score points based on, first off, each of the positions you hold. So if you hold this 8 position, you're going to get 8 points. If you hold the 4 position, you're going to get 4 points. And you'll score all of those positions on the board. In addition, depending on what variant of the game you're playing or how many players you're playing with, you'll either score dominance or presence. Presence is having, of course, one dinosaur in each of the 4 different environments. So that will happen, and there's a guide that shows you which one of those you score. But if you have presence, you'll get 8 points for having one dinosaur, at least one dinosaur, in each of the 4 environments. Domination, of course, counts the number of dinosaurs you have in an environment, and whoever has the most will get 8 points, and whoever has the second most will get 4 points. Through all of this, whoever manages to score the most points by having the best control of an area, or all of the areas, and of course getting presence and domination, will be the winner. Now, there are also 2 special tiles you can use in the game at any point, once per period. So once in the Triassic, Jurassic, or Cretaceous, that give you a benefit. One of them is simply a hatching tile. You can play it as an addition on your turn in order to try and hatch some more dinosaurs onto the board. It's just a one-time thing you can do that gives you a little bit of a boost. The other is a volcano that will kill off 2 dinosaurs in the primary habitat of an area and 1 dinosaur in the secondary and tertiary habitats of an area. It will also prevent any dinosaurs from moving in or out of that area, except for the T-Rex and the raptors, which are free to move out, as well as the pterodactyl, to move out, but not into the area to kill any dinosaurs. So with these tiles, you can also further your advantage to try and gain points in order to win the game. Well, there you have it. That is Triassic Terror. First thing I gotta say is, wow, the bits are really cool. I love the fact that they included the little plastic dinosaurs that, you know, we all played with as kids, and that's gonna be a big draw, 1 for kids, and 2 for people who are nostalgic for those little toys and really love it. Now, behind that, there's a pretty decent area control game. You're going to be moving pieces around, and that's, of course, always central to this. You're going to be trying to have the biggest groups, and there are several ways to interfere with your opponents, to steal from your opponents by migrating herds, and to, of course, use the cool, awesome dinosaurs to munch them down and tear them apart limb from limb and, show your dominance over them. All great and grand. Now, the box says it plays from 2 to 6. I played it with 2. Don't play it with 2. It's not a 2-player game. Area control really just doesn't work very often with 2 players, and this is no exception. The more players you're going to have here, the better, because the more interaction you're going to have, the more viciousness and fighting you're going to have for control and people getting kicked off and all kinds of fun things. I think they might have missed their niche a little bit because they've got the whole awesome dinosaur little kid thing going on, but the game is going to be a little bit too complex for the kids who are young enough that really want to play with the dinosaurs. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to hit like the 10 to 15 age range of the kids who still think the dinosaurs are awesome. It also doesn't mean you're not going to hit the adults who are nostalgic for those toys and really want to play the game. And there is enough of a game there for people in those age ranges if you're looking for a light area control game. I think it accomplishes that well. I don't think it's one I'm going to be keeping in my collection personally, because I have heavier, meatier games that are more my style, but I think that there's definitely a market for Triassic Terror, definitely for the toy collectors, and definitely for people who want a light to medium action selection area control game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.